Okay, hey there. Today I'm going to show you how to replace a screen on a 13-inch Macbook Air. This is the second generation and later, from 2010 and later. A lot of you have this Macbook Air. There are two things that people break. Either they spill something on it, break the keyboard or even the board inside, or they break the screen. This is the one that is very difficult to repair, opposed to the old one, where it's really easy to take the screen out. And this one, the screen is actually called a polarizer. It looks like this. So you see it's a very thin screen, very easy to break. And this is what you need to put in to actually fix it. The part itself is pretty expensive. You can get it online for like between, I don't know, 150 to 200. Some of people, some of the suppliers and sellers sell it for even more money than that. This is a very advanced repair, very difficult. If you haven't been using tools like this, I suggest you don't even try it. The biggest problem is that the people think that they're going to take this apart, put the screen in and fix it themselves. But then when they take the screen out, the broken one, I'll turn this on so you see how it looks. It turns out that they have no idea what to do after that. So basically, like you saw, the screen is cracked right here in the middle, and we have to replace that. The screen a lot of times will look like it's bleeding liquid. It's still the same thing. Don't think you need to replace something else. This one, for example, has this case. The case has to go off first. I personally hate these cases. They're the worst possible thing that I can take off. I broke so many of these that I don't even remember. Basically tools, pair of scissors, very handy painting knife. This is not a computer repair tool, but I use this. It's very handy. It takes off the bezel in a split of a second, literally. It's very easy to get in under. It's very thin, and it helps you do this much easier. Doesn't need to be fast, it just needs to be easy. Phillips screwdriver, pair of tweezers, and another prior. This prior is also thin, but this prior I don't use for the bezel. It's not that thin, it can damage the bezel. This prior I use only for removing the digitizer, which is the actual screen. Now, I'm going to try to do this as more detailed as possible, so you guys can take a look at it and see how it's done. Again, it's a very advanced repair. I don't suggest you to do this. If you've never done a repair, especially a difficult one on your computer, you will end up breaking something, damaging something even more than it was, and having somebody like me repair it for much more money, even though you already bought the screen, because it will require additional parts. One more thing I forgot, tape. This is a dual-sided tape. You will need this. Without this, repair is impossible. I have the 12mm one and the thin one, which is 5mm, which I need for the digitizer inside and for the little metal bracket. And most important thing, the heat gun. A lot of people will not use the heat gun, they will use a rework station. I use the heat gun because I can heat it up much faster, and the heat stays longer by my experience on these metal pieces that I need to remove. Again, heat gun is dangerous for people who don't know how hot it can get. Do not use the heat gun on the high heat, use it on the low heat. That will help you remove the bezel properly. It won't damage anything. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to start heating up the bezel. Just use the low heat, like I said. Heat up the bezel all around a little bit so that adhesive underneath the bezel gets ready, loosens up a little. And then after that, you will do side by side. Don't think that you're going to heat up the bezel and then you're going to take off the bezel all at once, because the adhesive will dry and you will have difficulties. You might damage the bezel, bend it, break your tools, damage the camera or some other cable underneath. Okay, so right now what I do, I always start from the left side. It's the most easiest for me. Doesn't matter if you're going to start from the top or the right side. Bottom is the easiest one to take off. I heat up the side for about 10 seconds or so. Just move the heat guns slowly up and down until you actually feel the bezel getting so warm that your finger shouldn't be there anymore because you're going to get burned or something like that. It's not going to damage anything under it, but it will get the adhesive warm and it will be easier to get it off. Also, don't hold the key gun too close and too long in one spot. You will damage the rubber gasket that goes in between the bezel and the screen case. Okay, so now we're going to start sliding in our painting knife. Okay, slide it in on the side like that, just go down. Don't expect it to go in all the way right away. A little by little it will cut through the adhesive inside and it will separate the bezel. Don't push this hard in there. If you do that, you will cut the rubber gasket, which you will need to glue it later, or even if it destroy it, you will need to replace it. Now what I like to do is go on the bottom. Now I'm going to give you a hint that you should use whenever you're doing a repair or whatever kind, computer, phone, car, whatever you're doing. Make yourself comfortable to do the repair. Do not make the computer comfortable. A lot of people I've seen doing repairs leave the computer like this and then do the repair itself. This is not how it's supposed to be done. So you don't scratch the computer, use a pad or something. I'm using a mouse pad, a gaming mouse pad, which is not going to move anywhere. I position the computer how it suits me, how it's easier for me to remove whatever I need to remove. So do that. Do always that. Make yourself comfortable, not the computer. Now I'm doing the bottom. I'm sliding it in under the bottom piece because the least of the adhesive is in there and it's the easiest to remove. You don't even need to really heat up the bottom piece because it does come out very easy. The adhesive will separate and you're done with the bottom. That's pretty much it. We turned it on, just turn it off. Now we're going to move key to take off the top piece. Do not pull the bezel in any way. Bezel is very light. I think it's aluminum alloy. It stretches, it can warp, it will get damaged very easily. And you don't want that to happen. Now there is a trick when removing the top part of the screen. There is a camera in the middle, so you don't want to damage the camera. You don't want to scratch the lens, or you don't want to break the little board that controls the camera that is underneath. The little board is right here. In that area you will need to lift your knife or pry or whatever you're using a little bit. So get in here from the side, slide in all the way to the right side of the camera. At this moment, pull towards yourself a little and keep sliding. Like this, you will avoid damaging the camera inside. You will take off the adhesive and you won't rip a couple of resistors that are very important for the camera to work. If you do that, don't even bother soldering them back. You probably rip the pads off even if you know how to solder, and you will have to replace the camera. I'll show you where the camera is when we take the whole bezel off. And the last part, the right side. That should be enough. Again, position the computer the way how you're comfortable to actually slide it in, depending whether you are right-handed or left-handed. Slide a little by little, from 2-3 times. The knife will cut through completely. It will go under the adhesive, it will cut it off, and you'll be able to pull the bezel off. Okay, pull the bezel off. That's pretty much it. We're gonna clean the bezel of the old adhesive, put a new one, this tape that we have. The bezel, as you see, is straight, it's not warped. That's how you need it to be so that you can close the whole thing. Here's the camera. The part that I said be very careful with is this part here, the little board. These are the components that you rip off. It's very easy to connect with them with this knife because knife is very flexible and it goes in there very easily. Mine started spinning, I'm gonna have to glue this. But anyway, okay, so first thing I always do is remove the screws. There are 5 screws holding the metal bracket on the bottom. I'm going to remove them. They're covered with black tape, so don't miss them. You need to remove all 5 of the screws, because if you don't and you try to pull the polarizer off, you will break something. It will make your life much more miserable. There is one here. I always take the tape off. Tape doesn't need to be there. It's completely unnecessary. Now I'm doing this very slow to actually show you guys how to be done. I've done so many of these that I can actually replace one in about 20 minutes. If you're doing repairs, you're a computer technician or something like that, after 10-15 of these you will be able to do it in the same speed. Of course, you have to be careful. The faster you do it, the more chances of mistake or breaking something are. Okay, the last screw. Do not lose these screws, you need them to fasten the bezel back in there. They need to be nice and tight. There are 2 screws holding the little board from the polarizer. This is the inverter board, but it also gets the backlight, and also there is a cable here that connects the screen with the polarizer with the board. You need to lift a little bit, you'll see it's loosened up. The first cable has a little plastic latch. You can't see this now because the camera can't really zoom that close. I will show you that when I take the polarizer off. I'll show you that on the new one. As you can see, there is this little connector here as a latch. You need to lift that and pull the cable. And there is another connector which you're going to connect the screen to. Okay. Now there is a tape holding the cable for the backlight. You need to be careful not to rip the backlight cable, do not pull it. If you rip the backlight cable, the backlight strip needs to be replaced. That's when you get in a whole lot of trouble. In that case, most of the times you'll end up just buying another assembly and replacing it. Remove this tape or cut it, use a knife or something, whatever you can do, remove the tape, slide the cable out. There is a little latch on the screen cable as well. Take that off and pull up. That's how it's disconnected. You see both cables are right there. I try to zoom in this so you can see. Okay, so you see the connector where the latch is. It's right there. That's the backlight connector. And you see the connector for the screen. This is the connector. Now, I'll zoom a little bit more. Those are the 2 cables you're gonna need to put back in there. They're not gonna be easy to put back in. I'll try to zoom in and show you how I do it, but I doubt you're gonna be able to see that. The thing is, I have a way of doing it. Everybody who does this repair or will attempt this repair will have its own way, or his or her own way of doing it. Be very careful trying to plug it in. Do not pull the cables too much. You don't really need to. They have some space going back and forth. The cable, backlight cable, the way how it's flexed, it needs to stay like that because that's the way you need to put it back in. Now we're going to remove the polarizer, which is the hardest part. I start from the right side always. If it's easier for you, start from the left side. Do not start from the top. I find it the most difficult to start from the top because the polarizer will crack. This one is cracked in the middle, so that gives me a chance of actually getting the polarizer without cracking even any of the sides. Because if you crack it and you rip it, the liquid crystal from inside might spill on the inner layers. You don't want that to happen because you can damage it. Start heating up this side again with the heat gun. Keep it away like an inch and a half. and start heating it up. Now there is a difference when you're doing 11-inch and 13-inch only in the next spot. Other than that, 11-inch is exactly the same. You're removing the polarizer in exactly the same way. I will show you what that is when we heat up this a little bit. Now with 11-inch, you can actually put here the prior and lift it. It's very easy. With this one, it might not be that easy because you need to lift this metal bracket and that will start pulling up the polarizer. What I do, I pull this board, then I get under it and I separate it like that. Do not pull too much. You don't want to rip the polarizer and break it. Take a look and see if any of the inner layers are stuck to the polarizer. You do need to separate them because you will scratch them while you're taking off the polarizer. Slide nicely. I'll zoom this a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Slide nicely and slowly inside, about 2-3 millimeters because that's how much space you have, and lift gently. Slide a little bit more and lift gently. As soon as you hear the polarizer crackling, it means it needs more heat to loosen up the adhesive. Lift it again so that you can see what I'm doing. So slide it in a couple of millimeters and lift. Slide it in a little bit, lift. Do not put a lot of pressure. You don't want the polarizer to break completely because at that moment it becomes very hard to take it off. Go close to the corner. Do not force the corner up. Leave this prior here because you will need to slowly lift it. Okay, so on this polarizer we have the actual corner broken as well. So I don't need this corner to be stuck to the case. I want to separate it in one piece. So be very gentle, sliding in. It might not be that easy. You might need to put a little bit more heat, but keep lifting. You see what I'm doing? Keep lifting until it gets separated from the side of the case. Then turn it around. Again, make yourself comfortable. You shouldn't care if the computer is or not. Make sure that all the inner layers are separated from the screen and start lifting again slowly, a little by little. This one is pretty cracked inside. I wasn't expecting that since I saw only a crack in the middle. So, like I said, a little by little, add more heat because you don't want the polarizer to crack. While you're adding heat, while you're doing this, keep lifting with your thumb a little by little because that will separate the polarizer even a little more before you continue with your prior. You might make the whole thing easier. You can maybe hear the crackling sound. That means that the polarizer is cracking inside. If the crack is not that bad, polarizer inside will not crack. It's going to be much easier to take it off, but in this case it's not easy, which is good. You need to see on the worst possible case how to do this. Again, more heat. Keep lifting with your thumb. They will help you separate the polarizer a little more. Now at this point, since you're close to the second corner, heat up this side. I'm going to show you how to lift this side very easily without actually having to slide your prior under. Now since this polarizer cracked a lot, you might have to clean up the side a little bit. Grab the polarizer on this side and keep heating up. And keep lifting a little by little. Like millimeter by millimeter, just keep lifting and you will feel how the adhesive is loosening and how the whole screen is coming up. This is the easiest way to take off the last side. And here we go. You want to do this for some time. Hold it. Do not touch the inner layers. Be very careful with them. Separate it. See, it's in one piece, but it's badly cracked inside. I don't know if you can see the cracks. Don't throw this out yet. We will need this metal bracket on the bottom. Don't move this, leave it like that. You will need to tape slightly these inner layers so they don't move. I use the 5mm tape. I cut off small pieces and I put them in the corners. I put them in the corners just over the inner sheets a little bit. That allows me to put it, to close it without actually, whoever I'm repairing it for, being able to see the adhesive tape, because there's the part that is covered with the bezel. You will see like a small line on this shiny sheet. That's how far you can go, up to that small shiny line. That means if you put it just over it, you will not be able to see it when you close it up. Now I'm going to stop right here. Okay, so glue all 4 pieces. Do not lose glue. Sorry, that was bad. Not glued. We put a tape in there. Do not use glue. Glue is the worst thing you can use here, and you're going to end up then replacing much more than just the polarizer. Flip it back up, and I'm going to stop right here. This first layer that we see right there, that first layer is very important. I'm not sure if you're going to see any videos of people removing the first layer because they scratched it up completely. Try not to scratch it up. If you scratch it up, you will see those scratch marks inside. Do not scratch the first sheet. It's very important. You need to leave it there. It needs to stay there because of a couple of things. It's a filter for the color, and it's also a filter for the heat. Backlight in the back heats up, and there are about 4 sheets that are holding the heat back, so it doesn't reach the polarizer in such a way that it actually can leave burn marks and create blemishes on it. And another thing is that it's also a color filter, which actually gives you the proper color on the screen when you use it again. If you remove that and you're using Mavericks, you will see like symmetrical circles, and a lot of them around, like something is wrong with the screen. Nothing's wrong with the screen. You took this out and there is a filter missing, so that's the problem. Right now, like I said, do not remove that, do not damage it. You really need it. Right now we're going to remove this metal bracket. Metal bracket is very important because it will prevent the backlight to shine out from the bottom. So I heat it up a little bit. It doesn't need too much heat to come off unless the digitizer is broken on the bottom so badly that you will take it off. There will be a lot of pieces of glass left. What I do is I slide it in here. The knife that we use, I slide it in and just go through, and that's it. Take off the adhesive that was left there, or if there is any pieces of glass from the screen, take that off as well. You cannot leave that in there. You can break the new polarizer when you put it back on. I use canned air. You will need the canned air or compressor if you have on a very low pressure to clean up the inner layers. If you're using canned air, be careful. Spray on the side first so nothing white comes out from it, and then spray a little so the dust that fell on it goes away, doesn't get stuck there. Use the 5mm tape. Use the 5mm tape to put it on top of this bracket. Like I said, bracket is very important. It will keep the backlight from shining out on the bottom of the screen, which looks really ugly if you forget to put it on. Put this back on. Position it nicely so it sits in right above the holes for the screws. And put the screws back on. Do one by one, so you avoid flexing the bracket. Okay, so there is one important thing that a lot of technicians might not agree with me. I find it to be like that and not in any other way. The old adhesive you have here, the black adhesive, I left it on purpose. I did not take it off for a couple of reasons. First of all, I removed the polarizer in a way that the adhesive peeled off from it by itself. I did not have to get under and peel it off. Secondly, that adhesive still is pretty strong and will hold the polarizer the way it was before. And thirdly, if you get something under the polarizer when you're lifting it up and gluing it back on there, good luck by removing it again to clean it if you put all this tape around. By good luck, I mean really good luck, because first thing you will do, you will break the new polarizer while trying to open it up just to clean up one speck of dust. Leave the old adhesive, it's good enough. Just put on these little corners. That's the only place where you need to put it on. I will remove this because it's flexing my, there we go, it's flexing my bracket. Right now we're going to put the polarizer on. I'm going to try to zoom a little bit so you can see what I'm doing, but it's not going to be that easy to notice. So I take the tweezers, I open this latch, and I grab with the tweezers a little cable. I don't know if you can see this, it's a little bit small, and I slide it in with the tweezers. It goes right in until those white lines you see on the cable, it goes in, perfect. It's going to be very hard for the first time if you've never done this. With the screen cable, with the LVDS cable, I grab it from the back with the tweezer, I slide it under the connector, and then I push the little board down. It goes right in, because it's positioned perfectly in a spot where it needs to be after you connect this cable. And that's it, you put the latch on, it's secured there, it won't move. Put the screws back on, and you're almost done. Now I'm not going to fast forward, I'm not going to rewind anything, I'm going to let you see step by step how this is done. Normally if I would have been doing this, I would have been done with this a long time ago. So now turn it on before you glue it up, so that you can see and make sure that everything works. The picture is there, make sure it boots up. Don't close it up before you actually check if it has dead pixels or something else, lines, any cracks on the side or anything like that. I'm gonna wait for this to turn on till I see some sort of picture, so I can make sure that there are no dead pixels that are shining out. Be very gentle with this polarizer, it's very easy to break it again. If you see, I'm sorry, this was still zoom. If you see like some weird coloring while you're putting this on, that's because the polarizer has two protective sheets. We will remove those and the picture will be perfect, don't worry about that. Right now we're just testing this, and that's pretty much it. This one, it takes a little while to actually boot up. Something might be wrong with the OS, it's just running slow, but it's a completely different issue which I will not talk about this right now in this video. I will let it boot up. I need to take a look at one more thing. Take a look if there is any shining out on the backlight. Like for example, we have it shining out here a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but that means you need to loosen up this screw until you lose that effect. And this as well if you need it. And then tighten it back up. Nice, good. Okay, it's still booting up. I'm gonna have to turn this off and I'll check what's going on with it later. We need to close this because the longer this stays open, the more dust particles will fall on these sheets. You don't want that. Again, spray a little bit so it goes away. Right now, take off this tape, tape protector, so it goes the other side, the other sticky side of the tape. Only these four and this long strip on the bottom will hold the polarizer perfectly, plus the adhesive that it had before. Don't worry, you don't need to put it all around, there is no need for it. Additionally, you will put the bezel back on it and that's going to even hold it stronger. Another thing, now what we're gonna do is peel off the inner protective sheet. Do not forget this. You're gonna forget this. It's gonna make your life miserable by opening it up. Now we're gonna go out more dust. I see some here. And we're gonna put it back on. Now when you're putting it back on, align the bottom of the polarizer with the bottom frame of the case. If you align it straight, it will sit in there perfectly the way how it was before. There we go. Do not press too hard, you don't want to break it. That's pretty much it. The job is not done yet. We need to replace the adhesive on the bezel. I'm going to set this on the side, let it boot up. In the meantime, I'm going to clean the bezel off. To clean the bezel, we need a heat gun again. I put the heat up on high and do side by side. Remove everything, these black strips, because you will most likely cut them up and damage them during the removing of the bezel. So remove them and remove the other adhesive that is there. I'm going to use this little plier to dig in a little under. The reason why I'm heating this up is that now when I lift it, it's just going to come clean off. And that's the easiest way to do it. You heat it up just a little bit and it comes off. This is pretty fast. And this is much easier. If you get to the point that you can see a clean picture on your screen and that you're already removing this to prepare the bezel to put it back on, that means that you did a good job. If you see blemishes on your screen, spots, dots, stretches, it means that you shouldn't have done it. You should have asked somebody to do it, who knows how to do it. More heat. Again, I repeat, this is a very advanced repair. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not really sure if you can do something like this, don't try. Pay those $250, $300. If you pay more than let's say $320, $330, that means that you're overpaying for this repair. There's a lot of repair places who will do that for that kind of money, even on eBay, or if you want me to do it for you, I do also repairs, mail-ins. You can contact me on private message and I'll send you the information. I'll give you all the info that you need before you send it, if you want to send it. There we go. Top and the bottom of this bezel are a little harder to take off, to clean up. So this adhesive is a little more dry, I guess. There we go. Now this black piece is very easy to take off. Comes off very easily. This one is also, for this one we don't need the heat. We only get heat for the sides. These black pieces are not really important because you will put the tape that is sticking out to close up the bezel on the bottom. So don't worry, nothing is going to get in there. No dust will go through. This one really doesn't look good, so we have to figure out what's going on there. with a heat gun, be careful not to burn yourself. If you burn yourself, you can get a pretty nasty burn mark. It happens when you go into a fire, so I don't know what I'm talking about in experience. Like I said, 11 inch is pretty much the same. The only step that is different is how easy you can lift the polarizer on the 11 inch on the beginning. Other than that, it's exactly the same steps. I will do a video for 11 inch, but there is no difference. I will do a video just because a lot of people search specifically for 11 inch, not for 13. We're doing 13 right now. Again, I'm doing this pretty much for informational purposes only, for a lot of people to see how hard this is and to appreciate that somebody can actually do this and be prepared to pay that kind of money that they're asking, because it's not easy and the part is very expensive. Don't think that they're lying to you when they say that the part is like $200 or something. It is between $150 and $250 depending on the supplier and the type of the part. Pretty much all of them are the same. It just depends where you're getting it and where your supplier got it from. Put the tape all the way. I'm using the 12mm one. Put it closer to the inner edge of the bezel. That's where you need it to be because it's going to close off the screen. Okay. Do not close off the little holes around the camera, and do not close off the camera itself. Of course, you need that little hole to use the camera. I skipped this part, but I will put a very small piece of tape there. I'll tell you why. It needs to hold the middle of the bezel just in case. But if you see this black tape, you need to put it in between the camera and the black tape. There is a small sensor, light sensor, that activates the backlight on the keyboard, and it might not work if you cover it with tape. I've seen this on just a couple of repairs that I did, and that means that something was wrong with the sensor, because even though I covered on some, never had any issues. On others, maybe like 2-3 times I had a problem. So just in case, don't cover it completely. Take off this whole thing. Okay, the video is almost 40 minutes. Like I said, this takes about 20 minutes for me to do. I'm doing it very slowly, step by step, like from scratch. I didn't have the computer with half a bezel removed already or without the adhesive. So you see how easy it seems. It's not easy, it's very hard. Put the bezel on the bottom to kind of fit the rubber gasket. Just put it back on there. Slide your fingers on the side so bezel gets glued. And you're done. There you go. See you in the next video.